Kai says, you've never really explained why you dislike academia. Okay, okay, yeah, I can elaborate on my dislike for academia. Sure, sure. Um, the main reason why I don't like academia is because it isn't market driven. It's not like it's not like a private business where, you know, you have these customers, and in order to survive as a business, you have to do whatever you can to satisfy your customers, more than any other business. There's competition, you know, it's a market driven environment. You know, in academia, there's a lot of force. For instance, you know, I studied chemistry. I started out as a biology major. I switched my major to chemistry, but yet I still had to take a bunch of classes that were not even remotely relevant to my major, right? And, you know, if I had the choice, I would rather just take the classes that were actually relevant to my major instead of being forced to pay tuition on stuff that I'm never going to use and have no interest in learning. At least, I mean, I don't have any interest in paying for it. If I want to learn that stuff, I'll hop on YouTube and maybe find some other person who does lessons or tutorials or something. But I don't want to have to pay these exorbitant tuition rates to satisfy these gatekeepers so that I can get my foot in the door and get a degree, you know? Another thing that I noticed when I was in college was I looked at my tuition, I forget what it's called. It's like the tuition schedule, or the, oh man, I can't remember. Just basically like the itemized breakdown of all the stuff that I was being charged for. And one of them, it was a few $100s per semester. It was called differential tuition. And I didn't know what that meant. It was like, you know, I'm paying like $350, $400 for differential tuition. It's like, what is this? So I looked it up. And what I found was that differential tuition is basically like a fudge factor. It's some majors are more profitable than other majors. So if you're like in engineering or like the natural sciences or like, you know, anything pre-med or something like that, like those majors attract more funding to the university. Other majors like the humanities, liberal arts, underwater basket weaving, you name it, those are not as profitable. And so what differential tuition is it's basically charging the students who are taking these, who are majoring in these more profitable majors, and it's taking their money and subsidizing the majors that aren't as profitable. It's just like a forced transaction. You have no say-so. You have no feedback. That's my problem with academia. It's like, it's fake. It's not market driven. You know, academia, you ever watch that show Bar Rescue with John Taffer, the guy who comes into these bars that are underperforming and losing a bunch of money, and he starts ranting and raving and screaming and telling them everything that they're doing wrong, and he like fixes their bar up for them and tells them how to do everything right? Academia needs John Taffer to just kick down the door and tell everybody, shut it down! That was his like famous his famous like catchphrase, shut it down! And just tell, you know, like you should do this more efficiently. But they have no incentive to do it more efficiently because they get paid no matter what. They also are in bed with the federal government, who historically have been subsidizing student loans, keeping the interest rates low, making it more attractive for people who, to be honest, shouldn't be going to college to go to college, which increases the demand, right? If you increase the demand of something and the supply stays relatively fixed, then the price will go up. Increased demand, supply stays the same, price is going to go up, right? So you pump out all this demand, and then you look at all these statistics down the road where almost half of college students don't even finish, and they end up with just thousands or tens of thousands, or in some case, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of student loan debt that they can't pay off, and that they don't have enough skills to get a job in which they'd be qualified enough to earn enough to really pay it off in a reasonable amount of time. Now, those are just a couple of things off the top of my head, but I think that adequately answers your question about why I dislike academia. Kai says, I'll be heading to med school sometime next year, and I still don't know why I had to take music elective classes in my senior year. Exactly. Yeah, that's the exact point that I'm making here, right? You know, wouldn't you rather just take the classes and pay just for the classes that apply to moving you forward to becoming a practicing doctor? Why are there all these unnecessary gatekeepers? And I'll tell you why. It's because they're trying to fund the jobs that don't need to exist, that would never exist in an actual free market. So, I did it. I went to college. I jumped through the hoops. I got my degree. But that doesn't mean I like it. And, if you want to become a doctor, if you want to become a lawyer, if you want to become a pharmacist, then, you have these hoops that you have to jump through. You have to satisfy these gatekeepers. So, that's basically my thoughts on the current state of academia. And, luckily when I graduated, it was like just before all of this video should be named Americans Complaining About American Education. Yeah. Luckily, when I finished college, I graduated like shortly before all of this social justice warrior, safe spaces, microaggressions, all this kind of shit started hitting the college campuses. So I was able to kind of dodge that. I mean, it's always been there, but it hasn't been nearly as prolific as it was, over the last, 5, 6, 7 years. So I graduated before then, so I was okay. And also being in the natural sciences, being in, chemistry, you don't really see a whole lot of, that kind of stuff, in humanities, liberal arts, history, you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of leftist indoctrination. But in the hard sciences, it's not nearly as much. I mean, you do have some things with global warming and stuff like that. Oh, the world's going to end and blah, blah, blah. There's a little bit of that, but there's not a whole lot of it. So, if you major in a natural science, physics, chemistry, engineering, and all that kind of stuff, you're pretty immune to all of the distractions that kind of take away from the pursuit of your education. At least that was my experience. So,